what I found quite interesting, how this chat actually came about, because obviously you kind of reached out to me, like completely out of the blue. I thought you were quite drunk, to be honest, because it was like it was like a 3:30 in the morning. You were like, Joe, we've got to do a podcast. I'm like, Salem, just message me in the morning when you can talk.
Yeah, no, I was.
I mean, I'm happy you're here, mate. Like, it's great that
Yeah, I watched a couple of the like previous clips, and like it's something I've never really spoken about to really anyone, to be honest. Like family. I mean, obviously my close friends know, but like I told you when we were speaking on the phone, you were like literally had no idea. Yeah. No one really knows because I never speak about it. It's just never really like a topic of conversation. It's just never a topic of conversation. So I watched one of your podcasts, and I said, do you know what? I feel like I'd actually quite enjoy to go on it. Like I feel like I've dealt with things in a, I suppose, maybe different way to most people. And I feel like I could potentially, take someone out of maybe a bad place.
Well, listen, that's why you're here. I'm very happy that you are. And like I always say, if you don't want this conversation to be aired or whatever, just know that, it's always going to be here, mate.
No.
But yeah, no, I always like to start things off with just kind of a bit of an introduction.
Yeah.
Who you are, what's your story, and if you don't mind, we'll kind of let's go. We'll kind of get the tissues out because they might. I'm joking.
So when I was about 11 or 12, I lost my dad to epilepsy. Massive shock. He'd had it since the age of probably mid-20s, early 20s, I think, but it was managed by medication, so it was never really. It was an issue, obviously, but not a massive issue, I'd say. And then numerous things happened, and he moved out of my house, and like we had a good relationship with him, and everything was good. But he just moved out. Like my parents, they had their differences or whatever, and he moved out. And this was probably. God, you've jogged my memory. It was probably about 6 months after he moved out. He was like living on his own in an apartment, and just one night had a fit. By the way, this is not common. It's very like a lot of people have epilepsy. They manage it and they're absolutely fine about it. But this was like you can sometimes just have one bad fit and that's it. So it's not like. It was a persistent, like, let's say you've got cancer and you're dying from it for a long time.
Yeah.
Or you've got, like, a long-term condition or whatever. It wasn't like that. It was a long-term condition, I suppose, definitely, but...
It's different.
It's different. It was out the blue.
Yeah.
So, obviously, it was difficult to... At first, definitely, it was difficult. And the way I found out was quite interesting, I'd say. Well, not interesting. It was.
How did you find out?
So I remember I must have been, I don't know, if you're 12, you're probably in year 7, year 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, year 7.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, year 7, year 8. And I don't know if you remember, but there was home phones. Like, no one really uses one anymore, but back in the day,
do you know what I mean?
To be fair,
but... No, it's true. Like, who used the home phone?
Who used the home phone? But you can answer the home. So let's say you've got 2 home phones in your house.
Yeah.
We're getting to the real, like, the nitty-gritty.
Yeah.
You can answer the home phone from upstairs, and you can listen to the downstairs.
Yeah.
So I don't know why I answered the call, but I heard my mum answered it downstairs, and I answered it. I thought I was getting told off at school. I don't know why, but I answered it.
Yeah.
And it was my uncle on the other line, and he called my mum, and he said, like, we hadn't actually heard from him for like a day or two, and like. Anyway, he basically just found him and he wasn't around, like he died and yeah. And I actually answered that call where he told my mum.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was a bit like, I'm like, is this real? Like, and it's really like, is this a thing? So I've gone downstairs like to my mum and I haven't said anything about it. I've just gone down. I've just looked in my mum's face straight away.
And
at that moment, I knew straight away. And no, it was awful. And then obviously all the tears come and everyone's like, family come round and it wasn't the nicest way to find out.
No.
No.
I think there's never a nice way to find out. And nothing prepares you for that initial kind of blow. The way that I found out was not the loss itself, but when I found out she was going to pass was, my dad kind of sat me down and he said, listen, Joe, like, this is the situation. Mum was in hospital. The situation is she doesn't have long left to live. And you hear that. And for me, I was very much like, it doesn't seem real. The idea of loss, or the idea that those kind of hard truth words, it doesn't feel like it should or will happen to you. You see it on TV, you see it in the news, like so-and-so's passed. But when you hear it yourself, it's like, is this actually happening to me? And so I completely, I completely get and, empathise with what it is in that moment, especially as a 12-year-old boy. No one prepares you for that, do they?
No, it's not how go to a lessons where you learn how to do things. It's just one of those things that come out the blue. Was your mum unwell like prior to?
Yeah. So she had like a long journey with cancer,
right?
And I do say that it somewhat prepared me. I don't think in reality it doesn't really prepare you for the aftermath and actually what comes with a loss. Maybe it prepared me for I wasn't as shocked when she passed, but the following months, years, and the future, nothing can prepare you for that. But I think having that kind of instantaneous loss in your case, how was being so young? How did you what was the next kind of years like for you?
So I would say I was at the time too young to probably process it. I was a kid. I was 12. What do you know at 12?
Yeah.
I'm 23 now, and I can guarantee you in 10 years' time I'll be different.
Yeah.
And as time goes on, you just change. You just think different things. And I was a kid, but post that, I was quite rebellious at school. I don't know if that was because, I don't know. I didn't have a dad to I don't know, discipline. I don't really know. I was never really told off, to be fair.
Yeah.
Fine, but I don't know exactly the reason why I was rebellious at school.
Also, interesting on that. Do you think the teachers who knew your situation as well maybe kind of cater towards that in a weird way?
Yeah, I don't know. It was never I was never nasty or anything.
No.
I was just cheeky.
Yeah.
I was just cheeky. I don't know, I was a cheeky chap.
Yeah.
At school. I don't know this. I have thought about it before. The exact reason why I was just always getting in detention and things like that.
I do think there was kind of, especially losing someone at a young age or having that idea at some age. I do think people from parents or teachers, or you are seen in a different way, and that's that's definitely something I going to school with I hadn't lost mum until I was 19, but being in school with that kind of cancer looming over me, one of my biggest fears was she was going to pass away. I remember being in lessons thinking it could very well be that someone comes in and says, Joe, can we pull you to the office? And that was something that was kind of a constant fear for me. But it never happened. And so to lose someone whilst you're at school and having to navigate that without, parents' evenings, that must have been mad. Do you know what I mean?
To be fair, I have a great relationship with my uncles. So even though obviously he's not my dad and he never will be, he's based my mum's sister's husband. So it's not even a blood, it's not a blood relative or anything like that. But he often used to come to my parents' evening, used to come to meetings at school, and he's really been a massive. It's not dad. It's not dad can have 50 quid to go.
Yeah,
it wasn't like that.
No,
but it was more advice. He actually lost his mum as well.
Yeah.
So I feel he understands, and we've got a great relationship. So I feel he kind of did that part of things. Obviously, parents' evenings were never good. Louis always got potential.
Yeah, oh mate,
applies
that word,
that line.
It was honestly the worst. Potential. Fuck off with your potential. School. Like, I always find it was such a weird time. I feel like you have to want to work. Always the same conversation. I remember sitting in my chair, getting the old potential. My dad was staring at me. Joe, is this true? My mum was staring at me like, Joe, are you really doing this in lessons? I'm like, this is actually horrendous. And my brother would get like 9 A stars, genius.
Same me.
Yeah, but no, it is what it is.
It's hard sometimes when you've got a sibling that's much more.
Yeah, exactly. Better looking as well. Well, listen, that's for another day. Yeah, so obviously growing up without that, how was that for you? Do you find yourself, did you mature as a person? Do you feel like, your kind of
100.
philosophy for life? What kind of...
My overall outlook on life in terms of the things I do, when I can be impulsive at times, but I think my overall outlook on life in terms of my own independence. I have an older brother, but I feel like I was the man of the house. I kind of had to be. When bad things happen at school and stuff, I just had to kind of internally just deal with it myself. And I feel like there's such a degree of resilience that you gain from losing a parent. You have so many successful people that in life just generally that go on to do amazing things, and they haven't had a mum or dad in their life. So I feel like there's just been an unbelievable element of resilience that's come with that.
Yeah.
And just even being I don't know how I can relate this to being streetwise, but I definitely feel that it has made me more aware of the world and the challenges that people face. And sometimes I think to myself that my situation is awful and whatever, but I seek comfort from the fact that sometimes life can be crap, right? Sometimes it can be awful. But then you if you remove yourself from that situation slightly and you think to yourself, do you know what? I've got a house, I've got a family, I've got friends, I've got the important things in life.
Yeah.
Then.
I mean, it's nice to have that kind of perspective. And in terms of the word resilience you used, I really like that word resilience. And I do think you develop a sense of, you have to, because, you can, if you don't develop that resilience, it's very easy to sit in your bed and kind of question, why did this happen? It's very easy to sit and kind of wallow in this sadness, and there's nothing wrong if that's the way you kind of respond. But for me, that idea of resilience and I think I said this in my last episode, I don't want to make something of her passing. Her passing's happened, and it's not a responsibility for me to kind of find something to make sense of it. But what it does do is you have to develop an internal resilience. The idea that maybe it's a certain sense of independence. In your case, if something was going wrong, you didn't have your father to say Dad, can you help me do this? You have to figure this out. And yes, that's sad. It's incredibly sad. And you want your father there. And I would do anything to have that kind of, in my case, it's that emotional support. Mum was this figure of kind of, if anything was going wrong, and bless him, Dad's not the most emotionally understanding. But he's trying. But not having that, and once that went, you kind of realise, well, I can't, because that figure's gone. It doesn't mean that someone, I can't, you find other ways to deal with it. That might be dealing with it by setting up a podcast. In my case, it might be playing sport, but you find you have to develop that resilience. You can't rely on someone else, and it is difficult. Don't get me wrong, and in a second, I would want her back. But the interesting thing you said about success, and I read a study actually about kind of people who've lost someone and then gone on to find success in their lives, and I found that incredibly interesting. And I guess the idea behind that is, when you've seen the worst of life, you've seen life at its real nitty gritty, the worst thing that can possibly come from it. And so when you're in a situation and you're saying to yourself, well, listen, I've seen that, I've seen what life can do. Why do I not go and set up a business? What is the worst thing that can happen? And I think because of that, that what we've seen, there might be a certain element of kind of, as you put it, resilience and kind of almost a perspective shift. I think I like that word, perspective. You know, one of the things we spoke about on the phone was kind of your attitude towards life. You know, what does that essentially mean to you?
So, by the way, I think you hit the nail on the head there with the point about in regard to just living life to the fullest. Because one minute someone's there, the next minute
gone.
So that's why carpe diem, seize the day.
Yeah.
If you're doing this like today, I mean, I'm quite well. I write day plans about things I'm doing the day before. I don't know why I do that, but
mate, that's fucking sick.
It helps you structure your day. But just even going traveling. Like sometimes I'm sitting at home, I like going out, I like doing things.
Yeah.
And there's two different types of the spectrum. You can either become really introvert, where you don't go out, you're like lonely, you're sad, you're upset. But I definitely think that it's so much better to be out in and around people and just living life, going around, doing whatever you want to do, as long as it's
kosher for Pesach.
Yeah. As long as it's good stuff. Just living life. I always speak about it because I love it. I love going traveling.
Yeah.
I feel like the things my dad was never able to see in the world, all of these amazing countries, all of the cultures. I feel like that's something for me that's really important, because when you're retired and you've done whatever you've done in life and you've done well, what does everybody want to do? Everybody wants to go traveling. Everyone wants to live their life and just do that. So I definitely try to do that now.
Yeah.
Rather than when I'm 60, 70, 80 and I can't climb any mountains.
Yeah, exactly.
To get the horse up.
Yeah, exactly, mate.
Yeah. So I definitely feel that living life to the fullest and just seizing the day.
Yeah.
Seizing the day.
Yeah, I agree with that. And as you kind of said, not when a parent or a loved one doesn't have the opportunity to seize the day, it kind of I don't think it's an obligation. It's not like you have an obligation to do that for them, but it's the idea of shifting. We're here for a certain length of time. We're not living for infinite amount of years, and within that time frame, you. And the thing is, had you not experienced a loss, you don't question it. You don't look at life, or you're just living in the moment. But there's always that kind of lingering thought of, who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I do want to know a bit more about your dad. What was your relationship like?
We had a good relationship. We had a really good relationship. He was big into innovation, development. He had incredible ideas, but with amazing ideas, you've got to be able to execute.
Yeah.
Everybody's got great ideas. Not everybody, but a lot of people have really good ideas, but he found it hard to execute that thing. And I feel on the other hand, I've got no idea. But whereas I feel like I'm good at executing things. So I definitely feel that if he was still around, it would be a match made in heaven.
The dream team.
It would be the dream team. It would be, you've got great ideas.
The Salems against the world.
Yeah. And then on the other hand, you've got the executor, the salesman.
Yeah.
You've got all of that. So it's dream. But in terms of our overall relationship, I got along well with him. He used to take me to football on a Sunday. I really didn't like that. That was something I didn't like.
Really?
Getting taken to football.
As in Sunday League?
Yeah, no, it's not. I like the Sunday League part, but it's just when you're everybody else's dad was taking their kid to football.
Yeah.
And you're just either going with other people's parents or you're...
Yeah. That's mate. That's a sticky one, isn't it?
Yeah, sticky one. I didn't used to like that, but
and that brings up, sorry to interrupt, but that brings up something kind of now that is quite significant, is when there are situations, you become less aware of it now, but when you go out to eat for, with a friend's birthday and all their parents are there, or whatever the situation may be, noticing that element of what you don't have, it really brings awareness to it. And for me, I find that shitty. But yeah, I mean, Sunday League without...
Yeah, I definitely found that hard as a kid. We used to go out at that point, kind of when he was bit prior to him passing, my parents weren't together, so it was a different relationship, definitely. But like we did used to go out for dinners, we used to go to the cinema, and yeah, we used to just do like normal things that like a 12-year-old kid would do. I don't know if I don't really remember if our conversations really got like really deep.
Yeah.
Anything.
Well, you were 12 years old. Like how much maturity at that age? I mean, it's only taken me to be fair, I've always been quite a deep kid, mate. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
It's nice, mate. It's nice to be.
Listen, I'll be 12 years old and I'll be like, so tell me about your life. And like, Joe, I'm 7. Leave me alone.
Yeah. No, yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I liked him. I had so much respect.
What was he like?
Really charitable. He was kind. He was a really kind person. He was interesting. He was smart. Very, very smart. Like brain. Like he used to do. He did loads of different things, to be fair. But he actually used to do board games for a certain time. He used to like develop board games.
Okay.
So I'm not. He didn't develop Monopoly.
Yeah.
Imagine just going around. Jesus Christ. It was a big game. I think it was in Hong Kong or China. It was a really big board game.
Okay. What do you find hard now?
Like I find it hard. Do you know what I find hard? I find hard the fact that like I feel like I've worked really hard and like I think I've done okay. Like I haven't really made something of myself yet in the world, but like I feel like I'm on a good path in life, and I would love for my like I'm sure like I don't know if you believe in it, but if he's watching or whatever, I would love him to like be able to be in my life and just see me like what I'm doing now and like the things I'm like, you know, me doing the traveling, working, and like I wish like he was a part of my life still, like looking in and just like, you know, pat on the back.
Yeah.
Well done, Louis. I knew you could do it. That's what I do find hard, because I would really love for him to like, you know, see what things I'm doing now and just like be proud of me. Well, I'm sure he is somewhere, but yeah, I do find that hard. Like how he's not around, hasn't seen me like grow up, hasn't seen me, you know, my best times, my worst times. Yeah. He hasn't been there. So like, I definitely feel like that's been hard for me, definitely.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think very similar to you. I think you know, when, you know, after I've been doing this for the last 3 years. It's coming up to 3 years actually on October the 23rd. But I message Mum quite a lot. Her phone, not, you know, obviously I don't get a reply back, and if I did, I'd be very fucking freaked out. Yeah, like that's what I miss. You know, when something used to go well in my life, if I got good results, if I scored playing football, the first person you tell is your mum. You always say, "Mum, I'm like, this is what happened," because no one supports you, no one cheerleads you like a Jewish mother. Yeah. You know, they're there like, you could say something as simple as, I completed this crossword, and they're like, oh my God, my son's a genius. Yeah. You know, do you know what I mean? And so not having that and not having, your kind of, it's not just achievements, it's little things like if you go on a date, if you go, that's, you want to share that. And, of course, I've got a great family, don't get me wrong. And you kind of adapt to your situation. But I think, to answer your question, not the hardest thing for me is not having those kind of little conversations, those little I think you just miss it. And like I can't imagine, and you're, is it 11 years, 12 years? You're 23?
Yeah, 24. Like 11, 12
Wow.
years, yeah.
And like, so in 3 years for me, I've changed so much, not just as a person, but like, prior to the passing, I studied economics. I was quite, I was
a smart boy.
Yeah, I mean, but like now my path has changed. Like I've allowed like a creative side of me to kind of come out. She has never seen that, which is a bit of a shame. But my point is like, so much changes. And you were a boy, you were a little kid, a little menace. Dennis the Menace.
I was a menace.
You were a menace. But like now you're, you know what I mean? Like you're a man, and like it might not having kind of the whole idea of like life events. Do you find that difficult? Like, kind of, I guess your first job, promotion.
Yeah. 100%. That's the single like biggest thing for me. That's sad. And just like one thing I do find hard actually as well is sometimes you probably get it all the time. Someone will come up to you like at work or I don't know out, and they'll be like, I don't know if people ask you on night out, what do your parents do? Yeah, I don't know. It's
small talk.
It's small talk, isn't it? So like sometimes people ask me like, like what's your mum do? What's your dad do? Maybe an Uber. Love chatting to Uber drivers.
Yeah, I've seen an Uber driver.
And like sometimes I find sometimes I don't know if you feel the same, but I've done it before where I've asked someone like, oh, how are your parents? And they're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
So like sometimes I say like, yeah, they're actually fine, thanks, because I don't want to make the other person feel bad.
Yeah.
I've done it before, so that's definitely something that I find hard because I don't want to say to people, oh yeah, how's your dad? Actually, he's not around anymore, because I just feel like I don't want to upset them, because I've done it before, and you go home thinking like, shit, I probably shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, for sure, mate. I completely get that, and I feel like it brings up a little dilemma for me, because sometimes, when I've met someone new for the first time, and that conversation comes up, I do exactly what you do. I say, my mum's a teacher, my dad's, does what he does, property man.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, listen, yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah, don't worry. But I do that as well. Like and then afterwards, I think to myself, why am I do the same thing as you. I do it to protect them, but why am I doing that? The problem is, once you hear about a loss, once you hear, oh yeah, I've lost my mum, people don't know how to respond.
No, they don't.
It doesn't need to be a sad thing. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, yeah, I've lost someone. Just ask me a few questions and we can, move on with the conversation. But it's almost like, I know the moment I say that was my mum's favourite song, they're like, and it's just like silent, like, what? And of course, if you're not in that situation, you don't know how to react. But for I feel like a lot of the time I'm trying to make sure the other person isn't feeling awkward. But it shouldn't be like that.
It shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that. You should, I don't know if there's a way to like kind of break down that stigma, but I don't know. It's an interesting point. It's definitely, I don't know. Like I don't know if there's any right response to that.
No,
there's no like right response at all.
Like if we were on a date, right? Yeah,
let's do it.
If we're on a date, we're getting down nitty gritty. We're asking a few questions, and then I go, "What do your parents do?" And you say, "My dad's not here." What would you think in my situation? Like, what would you like me to say? Kind of thing. Proper role play.
I would. It is quite a bit, to be fair. I would honestly say, my dad's a journalist.
Yeah.
Developer or whatever, and my mum works in advertising. That's what I would say. It depends at what point the date it was. If it was like further down the line, you've seen them a few times and a little rapport, then maybe. But I don't know if it's
also it's like
or on the other hand, you just tell them once at the beginning, and it's never brought up, it's never spoken about, or like that's just it. I don't know what's better. I suppose it's probably not like you meet someone for the first time and you tell them, because
realistically, if you're not if you meet someone for the first time,
imagine
they're like,
meet you.
Right, 10 minutes in, I'm going to the toilet, and then, I thought I was great. No, it's obviously it's about knowing your crowd, knowing who you're with. On a side note, do you because I know you've got a lot of good mates.
Yeah. Do
you find you can kind of talk to them about it?
To be honest with you, all of my friends know about it, and they've obviously all know, my close friends, people I'm friends with, just see them around stuff, they may not know. But my close friends all know about it. But it's never really, I mean, like occasionally, like once in months, we'll have a chat about it. But it's not really like spoken about because I feel like no one else would ever bring it up unless it came from me. If it came from me and I was like, this has happened and I just want to speak to you about this. If it came from me, 1,000,000%, we'd speak about it. But I just... I've got a good quote for you from one of my favourite books. So the quote goes, "Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, the wisdom to know the difference." That's my favourite quote.
Wow.
Good quote,
that hit me hard, mate.
It's a great quote. So, like, this is something in my life. This is something in my life that I cannot change.
Yeah.
No matter how hard I try, no matter if I can't change it. So therefore, like, yes, at times it can be comforting to speak about it with people, 1,000,000%. But I just feel like I don't want it always to be like the number one topic of conversation because I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And but like hard as well. Like people, I don't want to put people in a position where they're like where they have to be most people don't know what it's like, so like they don't fully understand.
No.
So that's what I think.
It is. It's the whole idea of and I think when I see from doing this and having these conversations, there is a kind of understanding. There are things. I think when we went on that, it was a night out. When was it? Like a couple of weeks ago. And I was like proper chewing your ear off about my situation. I do probably apologise. I was like, get a few drinks down me. Yeah.
Two is one man.
Yeah, listen. You probably weren't. You're probably like in another world. But I was chewing your ear. I was like, yeah, mate. Listen, lost all of this. No, but it is
for you. It's definitely more recent than it is for me. And like you're more grown up when it happened.
Yeah.
Therefore, you understand it more, and I don't doubt it must be so hard because you're you're older than me. Like you understand when you're 11, 12, you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know.
What can you know?
What can you know? What can you know at that age? But I feel like. It's amazing speaking about it and like so much comfort you get from speaking to everyone, your close friends, family. But I feel like if you set yourself like realistic goals in life, achievements that's going to be like, you know what, Mum, I really hope you're proud of me. I'm going to go and come and do it for you. Or like in my case, Dad, go get that job. I'm gonna achieve that. I'm gonna do that. Then you're channeling that energy into something positive, something really positive, and rather than I don't know, everybody's different. Like I, as a kid, and I actually still haven't been to this day, I never went to therapy, which is quite surprising because most people that like have lost someone in their life, most people go. I don't know why I've never been, but I just know that it's something that I cannot change. Yeah. So no matter how much I want to speak, I want to change it, I can't do anything. So therefore...
Yeah, I mean, in terms of that whole therapy thing as well, firstly, I don't think it's for everyone. I think you can find that whole idea of therapy in many different ways. Therapy can be simply, returning back to Sunday league and playing football. That can be your therapy. Talking isn't for everyone. And... for me, I am a talker. I think more than anything, if I'm talking to you, it's not because I want you to know, it's because I'm trying to rationalise it myself. Yeah. That's kind of why writing for me has been such a godsend, because sometimes I don't even know what I'm thinking until I start writing it down. All I know is there are thoughts there, and until I'm addressing them. But actually, one thing you said, which was quite interesting, I also don't want the one thing. I don't want the fact of the passing to be what you're known for. You don't want it to be not what you're known for. Like, I love having this and
it's amazing you do this.
But my point is, I don't want every conversation to kind of be like, that happens and it's still a massive part of my life. And when I hope when there is a conversation, people are prepared and just open to that. But it doesn't mean, that you still can't have this, like, laddie, fun side to you, go out, enjoy things. And I don't know if it's probably a bit different because you were a bit younger, but have you ever found relationships with, like, alcohol or going out, and then you're thinking about it a bit more? I mean, I guess for me, it was because I was a lot more recent. It was like when I was at university, and then, you're drinking every day, so it was natural. But I'm just curious, like, is there times you think about your situation and, like...
Honestly, not really.
Yeah.
Not really. I don't know. When I'm a bit drunk, I don't really think that much.
Yeah.
On a normal day, like, I'll be having a conversation with someone, I'll be thinking about 50 different things
at
the same time. Like a massive overthinker.
Yeah.
But
Are you?
Massive, mate, massive. Like, I'll be sitting with someone having a conversation with them, we're chatting about whatever. In my head, I'll be thinking, what, I need to go do this, I need to do this, I need to do that. Oh, what time am I going to do it? Like, I'm always thinking about other stuff.
Yeah.
That's why someone actually noticed it recently. They said to me, you switch the conversation quickly, don't you?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, because I'm thinking about
That's your brain, yeah. I get that as well. I completely get that. I don't know if it's, I always put it down to ADHD. I think that whole ADHD diagnosis is like, just to get extra time.
I said I didn't.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But I like having all these thoughts. I like it. For me, it's like, it's exciting, but it's not everyone is the same. And I think that comes back to the whole, your loss. Loss isn't the same. No one's response to it is the same. And you can't expect anyone to...
There's no right or wrong way to do it. Like, different people have different things. Some people like posting on social media. Some people like writing blogs.
Yeah.
Some people like whatever.
And I've noticed you don't do that.
Never.
Is there a reason?
Is there a reason? Like, as I said before, like, I just can't change it. I can't change it. I'd rather channel that process into, like, other things, like, just like setting myself goals in life and just like achieving them and just like trying to be the best version of myself.
Yeah,
I love that. Just trying to just do that, just do it for myself and for like my dad. I want to make him proud. I want to do something. So
there's a drive there.
There's a drive. There's a resilience. There's a drive.
Do you have any tattoos?
No, I actually don't. I'm not.
I feel like you'd be quite a tattoo man.
I know. There is. Someone else said that to me actually, but no,
not a little Magaloo for 2016.
Yeah, maybe. Honestly, I actually don't have any. Do you? Because that's something that someone gets when someone passed away. They get a tattoo. Have you got one?
No. Well, my brother got one. He got a feather with a heart in it. It's actually that feather there.
Yeah.
It was like feathers are like kind of, my mum's spiritual, and like feathers are kind of, they mean, that they're still like, when you see a feather, it's like they're kind of watching over you sort of thing. So he got that before she passed, which I think is lovely. I don't have one. My sister actually got one, and my dad got one recently in Israel. And then, I was like, they gave me the invite, like, Joe, do you want to come with? I was like, no.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not really into them, to be fair. I don't love them. Like, I don't want to.
Listen.
I don't want to ruin anything. I don't have. I don't think I'll get either.
Yeah.
No tattoos, no piercings, never broken a bone.
No nipple piercings, not you. What are you looking at? Like, serenade the audience.
No. I actually don't know.
Mate, but honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on today. I think it's really nice to just be able to talk and, create those kind of, just have those conversations.
Yeah.
And had you not brought it up, I wouldn't have known. And
we'd never have.
Do you know what I mean? And that's the thing, like, why would I know? Why would, and there's no reason for you to share that.
Because we're back to the point before, like, I never post on social media.
Yeah.
Like, I never, like, no one knows really.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's my way of dealing with it, just like sort of internalizing it. But it's just not. Yeah, it's. I don't know like why that's the reason. Maybe I put like certain barriers up to like. I don't know.
Do you ever let yourself feel sad?
Yeah. Sometimes, like if something has gone like really wrong, like I don't know, I can't think of any examples of tomorrow, but something in life's gone really wrong. Sometimes at that point, then I'll start thinking about it. But like, I try. I don't know if I try to block it out.
Yeah.
But like, I do spend a lot of time on my own as well.
Yeah.
To be fair, so like when you're on your own, you do generally think a lot. I know I mentioned to you on the phone, like I always like by myself. I just quite like my own company. Yeah, I just like if something's gone really bad, then I'll think about it, but not often, not often. But for you, obviously, it's more recent, it's more current. Like, would you say it's on your mind like all of the time?
No, not anymore. And I think there's a sadness to that because
it should be on your mind. It should be on your mind. It should be something that's driving you. That's you're thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's just like, I think coming up to, I go, if, when I speak to Dad, oh, how was your week? What are you doing? Or things like that. In that situation, it's like, it's now become, I'm not even thinking about, Mum. It's like, it's almost like she's not in the picture anymore, which for me is like like when you really think about it, like, I mean, it is sad. And it's like, I feel like small things I'm forgetting, I've got videos, but
that's what I look at. If I ever look at a photo, I'll think about it.
Yeah.
At that.
Do you remember what he sounds like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah. Yeah, really well. Yeah, I do.
Because
do you?
I can't picture it until I see like a video, that's the thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I find like, what I find also quite difficult is the idea of memories. You only have a certain few. That you can't expand on them. Your memories are just there. They're kind of static and slowly kind of. I feel like sometimes bits and bobs come up and you're like, oh, I didn't remember that. Oh, that's quite. Yeah, she did do that. Or like, oh, I remember that time but. Yeah, I'm kind of rambling. That's the thing when you start talking. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you just can't stop, mate. But honestly, mate, thank you so much for joining me. Really, really.
Honestly, I love the fact that you do this show. Honestly, I love it because people watch it and they'll be like, you know what, like, fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's okay to kind of.
It's okay to speak about it.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's good. It's good to speak about it.
Yeah.
I'm saying that I personally don't speak about it that much, but I don't know. I think it's good. It's good to, have it. There's two ways you think about it. You think about it in a positive way, in a way that you're going to go and do something, you're going to achieve, or you're going to be upset and sad every day. Obviously, you don't want that side of things. You want to try and channel it into something positive, like which is exactly what you're doing. Like this whole thing, you've got this thing, and you're like trying to break down the stigma about speaking about it and like seeing it as comfort, and like it's amazing. You're channeling this into something incredibly positive, and like.
Can you say more nights? A few more nights, because I'm feeling quite.
No, I promise you.
No, I know, mate. I know. Thank you.
I mean it.
I appreciate that a lot.
It's not something that is easy to talk to, 1,000,000%. It's something that, like, if I compare myself to you, I haven't done the marathon. I don't know if you've done the marathon.
No.
I haven't done the marathon. I'm sure the typical things to do. I haven't started a podcast. I haven't written a blog. I haven't done any of those things. I suppose I've done it in other ways, just terms of life, family, working. But yeah, like it is incredible, and I honestly have the biggest respect for you.
Thank you.
This. And I'm not just saying.
No. Honestly, mate, I appreciate it.
I genuinely think that because people from the outside will look in and will think, you know what, that Joe.
If you can, from conversation, if one person looks at this and says, yeah, I understand, or you know, you've done what you've
done a bit.
Yeah, and that's all you can really ask for. But yeah, I always like to thank you again. That's really quite kind.
Honestly, I mean it, Jay.
Thank you.
I mean it.
But I always like to end it on this one note. And if you were to have kind of a conversation with your dad again, what is it you'd say?
What would I say? So much has gone on. How would you summarise 11 or 12 years into one thing? It's interesting, actually. I would probably just say, like, I don't know. Told you I could do it.
Yeah.
From his memory, I was always quite smart, I think. Well, I don't know. You can't really go around saying you're really smart, but I as a kid, I was always smart, but I never used to apply myself.
Yeah.
And like that's kind of the side.
Classic. He can do more sort of thing.
Do more sort of thing. What we were speaking about earlier. So like, I would definitely like just be like, you know what, like, you know, I hope I made you proud. I hope I've achieved things in life where like you're looking down and you're proud, and maybe I'd ask for advice as well. Like, going forward, like, you know, what do you think? What do you think what do you think my future plan should be? What do you think? You know, where should I take my career? Where should I don't know. What should I do? Where should I go traveling? My parents have been in Hong Kong for a bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe speak about that. I've actually never been there. I really want to go. But
that's your thoughts
probably that.
Coming, right?
What would you? Yeah. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Can you see it? Like, it's bad.
It's good, mate. It's good. I think it's good.
Yeah, I know. But then sometimes you're midway through a conversation with someone and you're just like,
you zone out.
Yeah, sometimes, but it's more like you just
have a creative brain. You're just always kind of like, you know, you say something and you're like, oh, Hong Kong. I like it. I like it.
Yeah. What would you say, Jay?
What would I say? I feel like each week what I'd say would probably change, as in like, you know, but I reckon. I think the advice is I probably would ask for advice, or because you know, I think that would probably maybe be like a secondary thing, but I think the immediate thing I would say is like, I'm okay, you know, we're doing all right. I think because that was a big thing for her, you know, and that's why she probably held on for so long, because she didn't want to, you know, cause us unnecessary like pain to go forward. And so I think the first and foremost I'd just say like, yeah, we're all okay. Thank you for kind of just being that figure. But yeah, that's it, and I think we can call that a wrap.
Yeah, Joe.
Absolute pleasure, mate.
It's been a dream, mate.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
I just want you to find your truth and stick to it. I know you'll be okay. I know it. From the bottom of my heart, I know it. I love you, Papa.